Ahoy! There's this theory, called Slime-Archon theory. It says that a slime, of a specific element, represents the archon of that element. This theory was created before version 2.0. So at the time, it was used to match Geo and Anemo slimes to Shonli and Venti respectively. Shonli spawns a meteor on his burst. The Geo slime also throws tiny rocks. Geo slime creates a Geo shield. Shonli creates a Geo shield on his skill. And then there is Anemo slime. When they die, they produce a vertical wind current. So, what happens when Venti dies? That's right, he doesn't. He just creates his wind current without dying on his skill. That's the only argument which is used to connect Venti in the slime theory. In comes version 2.1, and we finally see Raiden's abilities. And guess what? None of her skills match the Electro Slimes. The Electro Slimes' attacks do not share anything in common with the Electro Archon. Now this is a problem. Slime theory cannot be wrong. So, what we do is, we completely ignore the fundamental thing which created this theory, which was comparing the slime's abilities, and instead, start comparing appearance or lore. Some say, the two personalities of Electro Archon represent the two, yellow and purple Electro Slimes. Others say, the two slimes represent, A, and Makoto. Some say, it's the Shogun, and A. It doesn't really matter what they represent, the slime theory cannot be wrong, so we have to find a way to fit the Electro Archon in it. Okay cool, now the Electro Archon is somehow squished to fit in this theory. Since we haven't seen the Dendro Archon yet, let's use the slime theory to predict it. As Dendro slimes hide, the Dendro Archon must hide. Let's also totally ignore the fact that both Venti and Shonli also hide in their nation. Let's only pretend that the Dendro Archon hides. The big Dendro slime can create small slimes as a flower, so the Archon should somehow be similar. Let's say it doesn't match any of these, then at least the Dendro slimes apply Dendro element, and the Dendro Archon will also apply Dendro element, so there we go, Dendro Archon fits in this theory. Next, Hydro Archon. Hydro slimes can make bubbles, so the Hydro Archon may also do that. Let's say if she doesn't, then at least, the Archon should be able to walk on water, as the Hydro slimes walk on water. Let's say she doesn't do that, as we already got someone who does. At the very least, since Hydro slimes make opponents wet, the Hydro Archon will also make opponents wet. Hydro Archon now matches the slime theory. So, even if the Archons never match any slimes, this theory will always be right. Pyro Archon will apply pyro, and cause explosions, like pyro slimes. And obviously, the Pyro Archon won't die by exploding, as Venti doesn't die, to create the wind current, like Anemo slimes. Cryo Archon will apply cryo, and slow down enemies, like cryo slimes. This theory will never be wrong, that's the beauty of this argument. And that's precisely why this theory is stupid. You see, this theory claims to compare Archons to slimes, but in reality, it compares Archons to their element. Slimes are pure elemental beings, so it's a no-brainer that they will express that element's nature. Anemo will cause swirl, it will push or pull, it will infuse. That's literally the element's property, not a property of a slime. Geo will crystallize, it will create shield, and it will create, pull, throw, or break rocks. That's what Geo is. It is not what a slime is. Electro will always have a positive and negative charge, because that's literally what causes the flow of electricity. It is the potential difference. That is why the two slimes exist, to represent the two charges. Hydro will create bubbles, it will heal.
Take any shape.
It will make enemies wet. Because that's what Hydro does, not because the Hydro slimes do it. Pyro will always cause explosions, and burn things. Because that's what Pyro does, not because the Pyro slime does it. Cryo will slow enemies down, and freeze them. Again, not because of the cryo slime, but because of the cryo element's properties. It even uses it to freeze the moisture in the air around itself, to create its shield. I hope you understand the problem with this theory. Observing an element to predict its archon will always be right. Because the archon literally cannot do anything other than their element. Hydro cannot burn. Pyro cannot make enemies wet. So the only thing that archon can do is what their element does. Another such theory is the archon hypostasis theory. It also suffers from the same problem. Both hypostasis and slimes are elemental beings. Hypostasis are insanely powerful compared to the slimes of their element. So obviously, their abilities will be just as advanced. The more pure and powerful an elemental being is, the better it will use its element, and the better it will show that specific element's abilities. And guess who's at the top of all this? That's right, the archons. So eventually, something, anything, will always match. Comparing an element's nature to predict the archon of that element is always going to be right. Because if the slime or hypostasis doesn't fit, the element will always fit. Which is the same as comparing the same element to itself to prove that it matches. Of course it will match, it's literally the same element. It will match 100% of the time. A while back, I made this video to test my argument. It claims that every other electro character copies the electro archon. Will anyone notice the stupidity with this argument? And guess what? The majority of viewers accepted that it matches. Only a few in the comments noticed the problem and pointed out that I was being a dum-dum, comparing the element's nature instead of the archon's abilities. But despite that, majority considered that video to be true. That's how the slime theory is. It is a stupid theory, just like this stupid video. Comparing the element's nature to its own archon will always match 100%, so it is not a theory at all. That is why calling this slime or hypostasis connection a theory is stupid. These elemental life forms don't have any ability of their own, they just express their element's ability. On the other hand, if you want to know what a real slime theory looks like, just check the Slime-Gnosis theory. That is a valid theory. These slime archon, or hypostasis archon, or literally any other elemental ability and archon connections cannot be called a theory. It's the nature of that element. I hope this video enlightened your understanding about the elements of Teyvat. Now next time you see such connections, you know it's BS. Thanks for watching, I'll see you again next time.